The massive space station floated in the darkness like a metal city. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports. Inside the Great Council chamber, Ambassador Zektar clicked his claws nervously on the smooth table. His insect-like body shifted in the specially designed chair as he watched the other delegates file in. Today they would discuss the humans. The hegemony had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. They knew how to handle new species. Most young races followed the same pattern. They discovered space travel, made contact, joined the galactic community, and found their place. Some became traders, others became workers, a few became soldiers. All learned to respect their betters. But the humans were different. Zektar had read the reports. In just 50 years since first contact, humans had spread to over 200 star systems. They built colonies faster than any species in recorded history. Their ships used strange designs that shouldn't work, but somehow did. Most troubling of all, they seemed to understand ancient technology better than the races who had studied it. For millennia, the chamber fell quiet as the session began. High Counselor Vorthak, a being of pure energy contained in a crystal shell, spoke first. "We gather to address the human situation," the voice echoed from the crystal. "Their expansion continues at an alarming rate." Ambassador Thessara from the Crystal People stood next. Her translucent form sparkled as she spoke. "The humans claim they are simply exploring, but they choose systems that others avoid. Dead worlds, places where the ancients once lived." Zektar knew about the ancients. Every schoolchild learned the stories. Millions of years ago, a great race called the Elder Species had ruled the galaxy. They built impossible cities and machines that bent the laws of physics. Then they vanished without a trace, leaving only ruins and mysteries. "Perhaps they are treasure hunters," suggested Ambassador Korthak. The dragon-like being's scales shifted color as he spoke. "Many young species are drawn to ancient sites." "No," said a new voice. "We are archaeologists." All heads turned. Human. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked to the center of the chamber. She was small compared to most delegates, but she moved with quiet confidence. Her dark eyes met each gaze without fear. "We explore ancient sites because we want to learn," she continued. "And what we have learned troubles us." She activated a holographic display. Images of ruins appeared in the air above the table. Broken towers reached toward the sky. Strange symbols covered crumbling walls. "These are from the Kepler 442 system," Sarah said. "We found them 3 months ago. Notice the architectural style, the energy signatures, the quantum resonance patterns." Zektar studied the images. They looked familiar somehow. "Now compare them to these sites," Sarah continued. More images appeared. These ruins were different, but something about them felt the same. Zektar's compound eyes widened as he recognized them. "Those are from human space," he said. "Correct?" Sarah nodded. "We have found similar ruins in over 30 human systems, all showing the same technology, the same building methods, the same energy signatures." "Coincidence," scoffed Korthak. "The ancients traveled widely." "Perhaps," Sarah said calmly. "But there is more." The display changed again. This time it showed star charts. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue dots showed known ancient sites. 67% of human colonies have ancient ruins, Sarah explained. In the rest of the galaxy, only 12% of inhabited systems show ancient presence. Either we are incredibly lucky or... She left the sentence hanging. "Or what, human?" demanded Vorthak. "Or we are connected to them somehow." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Species leaders shouted objections. How dare this young race claim connection to the legendary ancients, but Zektar said nothing. He was thinking about the biological samples stored in the deepest vaults of hegemony space. Fragments of ancient DNA preserved in quantum stasis. He had studied them as a young scientist. The neural patterns were unlike anything they had ever seen. Until now. During the diplomatic greeting ceremony, all delegates underwent standard medical scans. It was routine security. But Zektar remembered Sarah Chen's neural pattern from her scan. The branching pathways, the quantum resonance frequencies. They reminded him of something impossible. The shouting died down. High Counselor Vorthak restored order. Even if true, it changes nothing, the crystal being declared. Humans are still a young species. They must learn their place. We understand our place, Sarah said quietly. We are explorers. We are builders. We are survivors. And we will not be contained. She turned to leave, then paused. There is one more thing the Council should know, she said. Our scientists have been studying the ancient ruins. We are beginning to understand their technology, their language, their purposes. Impossible, snorted Thessara. We have studied ancient sites for 10,000 years. Their secrets remain locked. Sarah smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Last week we activated a quantum computer in the Vega system. It had been dormant for 3 million years. When it recognized our DNA signatures, it began downloading files. Thousands of years of records, maps, technical specifications, historical archives. The chamber fell silent. We learned many interesting things, Sarah continued, about the rise and fall of civilizations, about genetic engineering, about survival strategies, about seeds planted across the galaxy, waiting for the right time to grow. She walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the quiet chamber. Thank you for your time, counselors. We will be in touch. After she left, the delegates sat in stunned silence. Finally, Korthak spoke. She is lying. It must be propaganda. Perhaps, said Zektar slowly. But what if she is not? That night, Zektar accessed the hegemony's most secure databases. He pulled up the ancient DNA samples and compared them to human genetic patterns from the diplomatic scans. His claws trembled as he worked. The similarities were undeniable. Not identical, but clearly related, like a parent and child, or an original and a modified copy. He dug deeper into the archives. Ancient legends spoke of the elder species' final days. Some stories mentioned a great project, a scattering, a preservation effort. What if the humans were right? What if they really were connected to the ancients? Zektar's blood ran cold as he realized what that might mean. The elder species had not died out. They had evolved, changed, adapted, and now they were returning to claim what was once theirs. He looked at the star charts showing human expansion. They were not randomly exploring. They were systematically visiting every ancient site in the galaxy, awakening dormant systems, recovering lost knowledge, and the established powers had welcomed them as primitive newcomers. Zektar reached for his communicator, then stopped. Who would believe him? The evidence was circumstantial, the implications too vast to accept. But, deep in his compound heart, he knew the truth. The humans were not newcomers at all. They were the rightful heirs to the galaxy, and they were just beginning to remember who they really were. The thought terrified him more than any nightmare ever. Could the red sun of Kepler 442 cast long shadows across the alien landscape? Dr. Thessara stepped carefully through the ruins, her crystalline body reflecting the strange light. She had spent 200 years studying ancient sites, but this one felt different. Behind her, the excavation team worked quietly. 12 scientists from 6 different species, all experts in ancient technology. They had come here because the quantum signatures were stronger than anything previously discovered. Professor, called Dr. Marcus Webb, the human xenoarchaeologist, you need to see this. Thessara floated toward him, her energy field humming softly. Marcus stood beside a wall covered in symbols. The writing glowed faintly blue when she approached. The MAPA symbols are responding to your presence, Marcus said. They have been dormant since we arrived, but they activated when you came close. Interesting, Thessara murmured. The ancients often keyed their systems to specific energy signatures. She studied the glowing text. After centuries of research, she could read basic ancient script. These symbols spoke of genetic patterns and biological modifications. What does it say? Asked Corvin, a young dragon-like researcher. It mentions the Genesis Protocol, Thessara replied. Some kind of large-scale biological project. Marcus nodded slowly. We found similar references at the Mars site, always connected to genetic laboratories. They moved deeper into the ruins. The structure was vast, extending far underground. Ancient lighting systems activated as they passed, responding to their life signs. The power source is still active, observed Jakaya, a tentacled engineer. After millions of years, ancient technology was built to last, Thessara said. But privately, she wondered why this facility remained operational when others had failed long ago. They descended through level after level. The architecture grew more complex as they went deeper. Branching corridors led to specialized chambers filled with equipment beyond their understanding. Look at this, Marcus called from ahead. They found him standing before a massive door sealed with quantum locks. The surface showed swirling patterns that hurt to look at directly. I cannot read the access requirements, Thessara admitted. The encryption is beyond our capabilities. Marcus stepped closer to examine the locks. As his hand neared the surface, the patterns began to shift. The swirling slowed, then stopped entirely. How did you do that? Demanded Jakaya. I did not do anything, Marcus replied. But he looked troubled. The door began to open. Ancient mechanisms groaned as massive blocks of metal slid apart. Cool air flowed out, carrying strange scents. Beyond lay a chamber larger than a city square. The ceiling vanished into darkness above, but it was not empty. Thousands of cylindrical pods filled the space in neat rows. Each one was the size of a coffin made from the same impossible materials as ancient starships. Most stood open and empty, but some remained sealed, glowing with soft internal light. Stasis chambers, whispered Corrivan. They were preserving something. The team spread out to examine the pods. Thessara approached one of the active units. Through the transparent cover, she could see something floating in blue liquid. It looked almost human. Marcus, she called. You should see this. He joined her beside the pod. His face went pale as he looked inside. That could be my cousin, he said quietly. The being in the pod had human features but subtly different. The bone structure was more refined, the skull slightly larger, extra fingers on each hand. A human variant, Thessara observed. But why would the ancients preserve humans? Your species did not exist when they ruled the galaxy. Marcus did not answer. He was staring at a display panel beside the pod. Somehow he seemed to understand the alien symbols. It says Subject 847, he read aloud. Genetic modification successful, memory suppression stable, ready for deployment. How can you read that? Thessara demanded. Those symbols are not in any database. I do not know, Marcus replied. The meanings just come to me. They moved to other pods. Each contained a different variant. Some looked almost human. Others were clearly related to known alien species. A few resembled creatures from the fossil record of various worlds. They were creating new species, Jakaya said with horror. Modifying existing life forms. Marcus found a control console in the center of the chamber. When he touched it, holographic displays activated throughout the room. Images filled the air above their heads. The holograms showed the ancient civilization at its peak. Vast cities covered entire planets. Ships the size of moons traveled between stars. But then came conflict. A civil war, Thessara breathed watching. The images of destruction. The ancients were divided into two factions. The preservers wanted to maintain their original forms and traditions. The evolutionists believed they must change to survive some approaching threat. The Genesis Protocol, Marcus said, somehow understanding the alien narration. The evolutionists won the war, but barely. They knew their civilization would not survive in its current form. The images showed massive ships launching from ancient worlds. Each carried thousands of modified beings, seeds of new civilizations scattered across the galaxy. They were not trying to conquer, Thessara realized. They were trying to survive. The threat that destroyed them is still coming, Marcus added. The modifications were designed to create species that could handle what the original ancients could not. What threat? Asked Corvin. Marcus studied the flowing symbols and images. His expression grew darker with each revelation. Something from outside the galaxy, he said finally. Something that feeds on organized energy, on consciousness itself. The ancients saw it coming and had perhaps 1,000 years to prepare. And they chose to scatter modified versions of themselves rather than fight? They did fight, Marcus corrected, for centuries. But they were losing. The enemy was too different, too alien. So they changed themselves instead. Thesara felt a chill run through her crystalline form. If this is true, then every species in the galaxy is connected to the ancients in some way, Marcus finished. We are all their children, their legacy, their weapon against the coming darkness. He manipulated the controls further. More displays activated, showing star maps and genetic charts. Look at this, he said. The modification patterns, the distribution of species, it was not random. The maps showed how different species had been placed strategically across the galaxy. Each group had specific genetic advantages. Some were strong, others were fast. Some could survive in harsh environments. Others could think in ways that defied logic. A diversified survival strategy, Thesara murmured. If one modification failed, others might succeed. And humans? Asked Jaka. What were they designed for? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, studying the data streams. Adaptability, he said finally. Humans were given the strongest survival drives, the greatest ability to change and learn. We were meant to be the coordinators, the ones who would bring all the scattered pieces back together when the time came. When what time came? Corvin demanded. Warning lights began flashing throughout the chamber. Ancient alarms sounded with tones that seemed to reach directly into their minds. Now, Marcus said grimly, looking at the astronomical displays. The time is now. In the holographic star charts above them, something vast and dark was moving between the galaxies, coming closer with each passing year. The real test was about to begin. Captain Elena Vasquez gripped the command chair as the ship shuddered around her. The Endurance was humanity's newest colony vessel, carrying 15,000 people toward a fresh start in the Centauri system. But something had gone wrong with their hyperspace jump. Status report, she called out. Unknown energy signature detected, reported Lieutenant Commander Singh from the sensor station. It is massive, Captain, bigger than a space station. Elena looked at the main screen. In the swirling chaos of hyperspace, something glowed with impossible brightness. It was clearly artificial, geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. Any response to our communications? She asked. Nothing on standard frequencies, replied Communications Officer Park. But it is broadcasting something. The signal is directed specifically at us. At our ship? No, Captain. At our DNA. Elena felt her blood run cold. Explain. Park's hands danced over his controls, his face growing pale. The signal is some kind of quantum transmission. It is scanning our biological signatures and responding to specific genetic markers, human genetic markers. Around the bridge, the alien crew members looked nervous. The Endurance was a mixed expedition. Humans, Valerian crystal beings, hegemony insectoids, and others working together. But the mysterious object seemed interested only in the humans. Captain, called Chief Engineer Zara, a tentacled being from the rim worlds. The object is pulling us out of hyperspace. Elena felt the familiar sensation of reality shifting around them. Stars appeared on the screen as normal space reasserted itself. But they were not alone. The object hung before them like a geometric nightmare. It was clearly ancient technology, all flowing curves and impossible angles. But it pulsed with active energy, not the dead cold of ruins they had explored before. It has been waiting, whispered Dr. Okafor, the ship's xenobiologist. Waiting for us. Before Elena could ask what he meant, the object sent out a focused beam. It struck the Endurance and passed through their shields like they were not there. Hull. Breach? Elena demanded. No physical damage, reported Singh. But the beam is scanning our crew, specifically the humans. Elena felt a strange tingling in her skull. Around the bridge, other human crew members grabbed their heads in pain. Captain, gasped Park, something is in my mind. The tingling became a burning sensation. Elena fought to stay conscious as alien thoughts flooded her brain. No, not alien. Familiar. Like memories she had forgotten long ago. Images flashed through her mind. Cities of glass and metal stretching across entire continents. Ships that could reshape reality with a thought. Beings that looked human but were, clearly, something more. And among them she saw herself. Not Elena Vasquez, but someone else wearing her face. Someone who had lived millions of years ago when the galaxy was young. What is happening to us? Cried Dr. Okafor. Elena tried to answer, but more memories crashed into her consciousness. She remembered debates in vast chambers about the coming threat. Arguments between those who wanted to stand and fight and those who chose to evolve. She remembered the decision to scatter, to change, to hide parts of themselves in modified genetics, waiting for the right moment to return. We are them, she whispered, understanding flooding through her. We are the ancients. Around the bridge, human crew members were experiencing the same revelation. Lieutenant Torres stood straighter, his eyes glowing with new knowledge. Engineer Chen moved to controls she had never seen before and somehow knew how to operate. This is impossible, said Commander Thal, the Valerian first officer. Her crystalline form sparkled with agitation. Humans are a young species. You discovered space travel only centuries ago. No, Elena said, her voice carrying new authority. We rediscovered it. The memories were suppressed, hidden in our genetic code, but this beacon has activated them. She stood and walked to the main console. Her hands moved without conscious thought, accessing systems she had never learned, but somehow understood completely. The elder species did not vanish, she explained, to the shocked alien crew. We scattered ourselves across the galaxy as different species. Humans were one branch of that scattering, the branch designed to coordinate the others when the time came. The time for what? Demanded Thal. Elena's enhanced memories provided the answer. The Devourers are coming, beings from the void between galaxies. They consume organized energy, cities, ships, mines. The original elder species fought them for 1,000 years and were losing. She manipulated the controls with growing confidence. The beacon responded to her commands, downloading vast amounts of data directly into the TU's ship's computers. So we changed ourselves, she continued, split into dozens of species, each with different advantages. The Valerians got crystalline bodies that could store information. The hegemony got hive minds for perfect coordination. The Draconians got aggression and territorial instincts. And humans? Asked Zara nervously. Adaptability. The ability to learn and change faster than any other species. And most importantly, the genetic keys to reunite all the scattered peoples when the Devourers returned. Around the ship, similar scenes were playing out. Human crew members were recovering ancient knowledge while their alien colleagues watched in growing horror. In engineering, Chief Petty Officer Williams was modifying the ship's engines with technology that should not exist. In medical, Dr. Sarah Kim was accessing genetic templates she had never seen but somehow understood perfectly. Captain, Singh called out, his voice changed by new knowledge. I am receiving signals from other human ships across the galaxy. The awakening is happening everywhere. Elena nodded. It made sense. The beacon was not just local. It was a galaxy-wide trigger, activating suppressed memories in every human alive. What happens now? Asked Thal quietly. Elena turned to face her alien friends and colleagues. These beings she had worked with for years, not knowing they were distant cousins from the same ancient source. "Now we prepare," she said. "The Devourers are already at the galaxy's edge. Our scouts detected them 3 months ago, but we thought they were just unusual stellar phenomena." She activated the ship's long-range sensors, now enhanced by ancient technology. The display showed something that made everyone gasp. A vast darkness was moving between the stars. Not empty space, but something hungry, something alive. It consumed everything in its path: stars, planets, entire solar systems. They feed on organized matter and energy, Elena explained. Civilization itself is food to them. The more complex and advanced a society, the more appealing it becomes. "How do we fight something like that?" whispered Zara. "We don't fight it," Elena replied. "We become something it cannot digest." She began entering commands that would send messages to every human settlement in the galaxy. Ancient protocols that had been waiting millions of years for activation. The elder species learned that traditional warfare was useless against the Devourers, she said. But scattered, adaptable, evolving species could survive. We were designed as seeds, waiting to bloom when the harvest came. "And now?" asked Thal. Elena smiled, and for the first time her alien colleagues saw something predatory in that human expression. "Now we show the Devourers why they should have stayed in the void." Throughout the ship, humans were changing. Not physically, but mentally. Ancient knowledge flowed through their enhanced genetics. Technologies that had been lost for millions of years were suddenly understood. The age of hiding was over. The real war was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Korthak paced across the command deck of his flagship, the Burning Claw. His scales shifted from deep red to angry orange as he watched the tactical displays. Across the galaxy, human colonies were changing in ways that defied explanation. "Report," he growled to his intelligence officer. Commander Vexhai, a smaller member of the dragon-like race, consulted her data pad with nervous claws. "The transformations began 6 days ago, Admiral. Every human settlement in the galaxy experienced the same phenomenon simultaneously." "Impossible," Korthak snarled. "No communication system could coordinate across such distances instantly." "Not communication, sir. Something else, something quantum-based that we do not understand." The Admiral studied the holographic galaxy map floating above the strategy table. Red markers showed human colonies that had gone dark. Yellow markers indicated colonies that were still in contact, but behaving strangely. "Define strangely, Commander." "They are modifying their ships and stations using technologies we have never seen. Energy signatures that match ancient ruins, but with power levels far beyond anything we thought possible." Korthak's claws scraped against the metal deck. "Show me." The display changed to show sensor readings from the Vega system. Human colony ship New Horizon had been a simple transport vessel when last observed. Now it registered as something else entirely. "The ship's mass has not changed," Vexhai explained, "but its energy output has increased by over 3,000%. It is generating gravitational fields that should require a space station to produce. Weapons? Unknown, but theoretical projections suggest they could destroy entire fleets." Similar reports came from across human space. Mining colonies had become fortress worlds. Transport ships had transformed into something approaching ancient dreadnoughts. Peaceful human settlements were becoming military powers overnight. "How many ships do we have in human territory?" Korthak asked. 47 vessels on patrol or diplomatic missions," replied his fleet coordinator. "We lost contact with 12 of them yesterday." The Admiral's blood ran cold. 12 ships, gone without distress signals, either destroyed instantly or captured by technology beyond their understanding. "Admiral," called the communications officer. "Priority message from High Command." The hologram of Supreme Commander Zorthak materialized above the command table. The ancient dragon's scales were black with age and worry. "Admiral Korthak," the image said, "you are ordered to implement Protocol 7 immediately." Korthak felt his spine stiffen. Protocol 7 was total containment. It meant treating an entire species as a galactic threat. "Sir, are you certain? The humans have been our allies." The humans we knew no longer exist. Zorthak replied grimly. Intelligence. Reports suggest they have become something else. Something connected to the ancient ruins that dot their space. The Supreme Commander activated additional displays showing archaeological data. Dr. Thesara's expedition to Kepler 442 discovered genetic modification laboratories. The evidence suggests that humans are not what we thought them to be. Explain. They may be connected to the elder species, possibly descendants or modified versions of the ancients themselves. Korthak felt his world shift. The elder species were legend, gods of technology who had vanished mysteriously, if the humans were truly their heirs. All diplomatic contact with human colonies is suspended, Zorthak continued. You are authorized to use any means necessary to prevent their expansion into non-human space. And if they resist? The old dragon's eyes glowed with ancient fire. Then we discover if legends can truly die. The hologram faded. Korthak stood, in silence, processing the implications. Around him, his crew waited for orders. Fleet positions? He asked finally. The 2nd, 5th, and 9th fleets are moving to establish a containment perimeter around human space, Vexhai reported. Admiral Jakar of the Crystal People is coordinating with the hegemony forces. Good. And the humans? Any response to our fleet movements? No hostile actions yet, but Admiral, they know we are coming. Korthak looked at her questioningly. Every human colony has begun fortifying. Not just military preparations, they are transforming their entire infrastructure. Civilian stations are becoming armed platforms. Cargo ships are growing weapon systems that do not appear in any database. The Admiral studied the tactical readouts. What he saw made his scales pale. They are not building new weapons, he realized. They are revealing weapons that were always there. The implications were terrifying. If humans had always possessed this technology, why had they hidden it? Why appear weak when they were obviously strong? Sir, called the sensor operator. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV. Single vessel, human configuration. On screen. The view screen showed a sleek ship approaching their position. It looked like a standard human diplomatic courier, but the energy readings were impossible. They want to talk. The communications officer reported. Put them through. The screen flickered, revealing a human woman in a simple uniform, but her eyes held knowledge that seemed ancient. Admiral Korthak, she said calmly. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran Coordination Fleet. We need to discuss the current situation. Terran Coordination Fleet? Korthak growled. No, such organization exists in our records. It exists now, Elena replied, as do many things that did not exist a week ago. The Admiral leaned forward. Are you threatening us, human? No, Elena said sadly. I am trying to save you. Before Korthak could respond, his sensor officer called out in alarm. Admiral, massive energy spike detected at the galaxy's rim. Something big is coming out of hyperspace. The tactical display shifted to show the outer edge of the galaxy. What appeared there made every being on the bridge freeze in terror. Ships, thousands of them, but not ships in any recognizable sense. They were organic-looking things the size of moons, dark as space itself but somehow darker. They moved without visible propulsion, bending reality around them. The Devourers have arrived, Elena said quietly from the screen. This is why we awakened. This is why we revealed ourselves. What are those things? Korthak whispered. The reason the elder species scattered themselves across the galaxy, Elena replied. They consume organized energy, cities, ships, mines, everything that makes civilization possible. The alien ships had begun moving inward, and wherever they passed, stars went dark. The original elder species fought them for 1,000 years and lost, Elena continued. So they chose a different strategy. They became us. All of us. What do you mean? Every species in the galaxy carries elder species genetics. We are all their children, modified for different survival strategies. But humans? She paused. Humans were designed to coordinate the defense when the Devourers returned. Korthak looked at his crew. Dragon people, insectoids, crystal beings, energy forms, all watching the approaching darkness with growing fear. You are saying we are all connected? Yes. And separately, we will all die. The Devourers will consume us one species at a time, but together, using the combined knowledge of the elder species. She left the sentence hanging. What do you propose? Korthak asked. Full integration. Humans will share ancient technologies with all allied species. In return, we need your unique advantages: dragon aggression, crystal information storage, insectoid coordination, energy being manipulation of quantum fields. The Admiral looked at the advancing darkness. Already, outer colonies were going silent. And if we refuse? Elena's expression was sad but determined. Then you will die as your ancestors did, and we will honor your sacrifice while we continue the fight. Korthak realized the truth. Humanity was not asking for alliance, they were offering it. The choice was cooperation or extinction. How long do we have? He asked. 3 months until they reach the core worlds. Around the bridge, his officers looked to him for orders. The old ways were ending whether they chose it or not. Signal the fleet, Korthak said finally. Stand down from containment protocol. We have bigger enemies to face. For the first time in galactic history, the older races would follow humanity's lead, because the alternative was oblivion. The ancient world hung in space like a jewel of impossible beauty. Its surface gleamed with cities of crystal and metal that stretched from pole to pole. This was the birthplace of the elder species, the heart of the galaxy that had been sleeping for 3 million years. Now it was waking up. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Unity, humanity's flagship, watching as the planet's dormant systems came alive. Around her, beings from dozens of species worked together at control stations. Dragon people operated weapon systems while crystal beings managed communications. Insectoid engineers coordinated with energy form navigators. For the first time in galactic history, all the scattered children of the elder species were united. Planetary defense grid is responding to our presence, reported Commander Thal, the Valyrian officer who had become Elena's second-in-command. The systems recognize our genetic signatures. Elena nodded. 3 months ago, these aliens had been preparing to contain humanity. Now they were following human commands as their awakened memories revealed the truth about their origins. Dr. Okafor, what is the status of the archaeological teams? The human xenobiologist looked up from his displays. The central complex is fully active, Captain. The planetary quantum computer has been downloading information for 72 hours straight. We now have complete records of the elder species civilization. And the Devourers? Elena's expression darkened. They have consumed the outer rim. 47 star systems are gone. The refugee fleets are falling back to our defensive positions. Through the view screen, she could see the massive fleet that had assembled around the ancient homeworld. Ships from every known species flew in formation with human vessels, but they were vastly outnumbered by what was coming. Signal from Admiral Korthak, the communications officer announced. The Dragon Commander's image appeared on the main screen. His flagship, Burning Claw, was now armed with ancient weapons that could destroy moons. Captain Vasquez, he said formally. The outer defense line is in position. We have evacuated all civilian populations from the border systems. Casualties from the evacuations? 12 million beings did not make it out in time. His scales darkened with grief. The Devourers consumed them along with their worlds. Elena felt the weight of command pressing down on her. 12 million dead because they had not been fast enough, because the awakening had come too late. Admiral, are your forces ready for the next phase? As ready as we can be for something impossible, Korthak replied. My pilots are still learning to use ancient technology. The weapon systems are beyond anything we ever imagined. The learning curve is steep, Elena agreed, but your people are adapting faster than projected. Dragon aggression combined with ancient firepower is proving very effective. And the other species? The crystal people have become living computers, processing tactical data at superhuman speeds. The insectoids are coordinating fleet movements with perfect precision. The energy beings are manipulating space-time itself. Elena paused, studying the tactical displays. We are becoming what the elder species always intended us to be. A new voice interrupted from behind her. But will it be enough? Elena turned to see Dr. Marcus Webb, the archaeologist whose discoveries had started this chain of events. He looked older now, changed by the ancient knowledge flowing through his enhanced genetics. The complete records are troubling, he continued. The elder species fought the Devourers for over 1,000 years. They had technology we can barely imagine. And they still lost. They lost because they fought as one species, Elena replied. We are fighting as many species with one purpose. Marcus activated a holographic display showing the approaching enemy fleet. The dark ships moved like living things, consuming everything in their path. The Devourers are not just consuming matter and energy, he explained to the assembled officers. They are consuming information itself, order, organization, the very concept of civilization. How do you fight something like that? Asked Thal. You become chaos, Elena said quietly. The others looked at her in surprise. The elder species? We're perfect, she continued. Ordered, logical, organized. Everything the Devourers hungered for. But we are different. We are chaotic, unpredictable. Each species brings its own madness to the mix. She gestured to the diverse crew around her. Dragon rage, crystal logic, human adaptability, insectoid precision, energy manipulation. Dozens of different approaches to the same problem. A coordinated chaos, Korthak said from the screen, understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. Exactly. The Devourers expect order. They expect civilizations that follow patterns. We are going to give them something they have never encountered. Warning. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. The enemy had arrived. On the tactical display, the Devourer fleet appeared at the galaxy's edge like a spreading stain. Thousands of impossible ships that bent reality around them. Where they passed, stars went out and space itself seemed to die. All fleets, this is Captain Vasquez. Elena broadcast to the United Forces. Remember your training. Remember who you are. But most importantly, remember who we are together. She turned to her crew. Activate the ancient defense systems. The planet below them pulsed with new energy. Weapons that had been silent for millions of years began charging. Space around the homeworld shimmered as reality-bending shields came online. Fleet Formation Omega, Elena ordered. All ships prepare for quantum warfare. The United Fleet moved into positions that would have been impossible for any single species to achieve. Dragons provided aggressive tactics. Crystal beings calculated optimal firing solutions. Insectoids coordinated movements with perfect timing. Humans adapted to changing conditions in real time. The first Devourer ships entered weapons range. Fire, Elena commanded. Ancient weapons unleashed energies that lit up space like new stars. The Devourer ships, expecting conventional resistance, were caught off guard by weapons that attacked the fundamental structure of reality. Several of the dark vessels simply ceased to exist, but the others adapted quickly. That was their strength. They learned from every civilization they consumed. Second, wave incoming, reported the sensor operator. They have modified their approach. Then we modify ours, Elena replied. All ships pattern Delta 7. The fleet shifted into a new formation that incorporated lessons from a dozen different military traditions. No single species could have conceived such tactics. The battle raged for hours. Ancient weapons traded fire with impossible technologies. Space itself became a battlefield as both sides manipulated the laws of physics. But slowly, the Devourers began to gain ground. Captain, Marcus called out urgently. The planetary computer has found something in the deepest archives. Elena looked at the data streams flowing across his display. What is it? The real reason the elder species scattered themselves, Marcus said grimly. It was not just survival. It was preparation for this moment. He activated new displays, showing genetic patterns and quantum signatures. Every species in the galaxy carries specific modifications, he explained. When brought together and properly coordinated, they create something the devourers cannot consume. What? True chaos. Not the organized chaos of war, but quantum uncertainty itself. A state where information cannot exist because reality itself becomes fluid. Elena understood. The ultimate weapon. And the ultimate sacrifice, Marcus added quietly. Activating it will transform every being in the fleet into something beyond physical existence. We will become pure possibility. Elena looked around at her crew. Dragon people, crystal beings, humans, insectoids, all the children of the elder species united at last. Will we survive the transformation? Unknown. We will become something new. Something the universe has never seen. The ship shuddered as devourer weapons found their mark. Around the galaxy, the United Fleet was taking heavy casualties. Captain, called Korthak from the screen, we cannot hold them much longer. Elena made her decision. All ships, prepare for Protocol Genesis, she broadcast. This is what we were created for. This is why we scattered. This is why we came back together. She looked at each of her officers in turn. It has been an honor serving with you all. Elena placed her hand on the activation control. For the elder species, she said. For the galaxy, the others replied. She pressed the button. Across the fleet, every being began to change, not just physically but fundamentally. They became probability itself, existing in all possible states simultaneously. The devourers, faced with enemies that existed everywhere and nowhere at once, found they had nothing left to consume. For the first time in their existence, the darkness retreated. The galaxy was safe. And in the space between reality and possibility, the children of the elder species continued their eternal watch. Some stories end with victory. Others end with transformation. This one ended with both.